Next to shoulder region, the second one is the elbow region, where we will see the bones around the elbow and the joints around the elbow, and I will show you the important anatomical landmarks of this region. This is the X-ray of the elbow region. Elbow region means the lower end of the humerus and upper end of the ulna and upper end of the radius, they form a joint here. So the around this joint, including the bones and the joint itself, this is called the elbow region. So this is one view, anterior posterior view, but this view is not completely anterior posterior, to some extent lateral, and this is completely lateral view. And here we will see how this joint is formed and what are the bones taking part to form the elbow joint. Before discussing the joint, let us see the parts of the humerus, particularly at its lower end. You can see here is the medullary cavity of the humerus, and this is the compact part of the bone, and at the lower end, here you can see this is the condyle of the humerus. This one is the condyle of the humerus. In the condyle, there are three fossa, two anteriorly and one posteriorly. Posteriorly, here is the fossa, where this process of the ulna impinges on the fossa on the posterior side of the condyle of the lower end of the humerus, and that fossa is called the olecranon fossa. So this process is called the olecranon process of the ulna. And anteriorly here, this is radius. When the elbow joint flexes, the radial head comes to this fossa here. This fossa is called the radial fossa. Similarly, this is called the coronate process of the ulna here, this one, coronate process of the ulna. When there is flexion of the elbow joint, the coronate process comes to this fossa on the lower end of the humerus, and that fossa here, that fossa anteriorly is called the coronate fossa. So there are three fossa, two anteriorly, radial fossa and coronate fossa. One is olecranon fossa posteriorly. In lateral view, you see more clearly. This is olecranon process of ulna. So this is olecranon fossa of the humerus. So this joint, it is formed by three bones. So it is an example of compound joint. Compound joint means when a joint is formed by more than two bones, it is called compound joint. So here bones are radius, ulna and humerus, so three bones. But here another joint is also seen, this visible. This joint is called the superior radioulnar joint, which is formed by the radial head, and here is the radial notch of the ulna. So this joint along with this humero-ulnar and humero-radial joint, all these three joints are enveloped by a common synovial covering called cubital articulation. Then what are the other parts is visible in the upper end of the ulna and upper end of the radius. In the upper end of the ulna, I told you this is the olecranon process and this is the coronate process. In lateral view, you see this is the olecranon process here, this one, and this is coronate process. Another important feature you must notice, and that is this notch. This notch, it is facing anteriorly, and this notch belongs to the ulna. And you know this is coronate process, this is olecranon process. So this concavity forward between these two processes, this notch is called the trochlear notch, this one. In this lateral view, you see this is olecranon process and this is coronate process. So this concavity, this notch between these two processes, which is facing anteriorly, is called the trochlear notch. This trochlear notch, it fits with the trochlea of the lower end of the humerus. So this trochlear notch also an important feature of the upper end of the ulna on its anterior aspect. and below it here is the ulnar tuberosity. In ulnar tuberosity, here is the attachment of brachialis muscle, which is the flexor of the elbow joint, and here is the radius, radial head. Then this concentrated part below the head is the radial neck, and below it is the radial tuberosity. Here is the radial tuberosity. In the radial tuberosity, the muscle attached is the biceps tendon. Biceps tendon also, it is the flexor of the elbow joint. So this elbow joint is an example of synovial joint and uniaxial joint, and it permits flexion and extension, and it is also called the hinge joint. So type synovial, subtype hinge, uniaxial. Another important landmark also visible but not clear in this film. I am showing you another X-ray film. There you will get more clear view of these two important landmarks. Here you see, this is the lower end of the humerus. It is anteroposterior view. This is lateral view. In this view, I already told you, this is the olecranon process and olecranon fossa. This is the joint space between the radius and the humerus, radioulnar joint, radiohumeral joint or humororadial joint, and on the medial side, humoroulnar joint. And this space radiolucent due to the presence of articular cartilage, which is radiolucent. And I was telling you the important landmark are this epicondyle. The two epicondyle, one lateral epicondyle, one is medial epicondyle here. So the whole thing is the condyle, but the projected part is the epicondyle. Medial epicondyle is more prominent than the lateral epicondyle. The muscle attached from the medial epicondyle is the common flexor tendon of the forearm, and from the lateral epicondyle, the muscle attachment is the common extensor tendon of the forearm. But one important nerve is related behind the medial epicondyle, and that nerve is the ulnar nerve. So sometimes this question is also asked if you are given this X-ray film. So altogether we have seen the region of the elbow joint and the bones participating to form the elbow joint and different landmarks of the region. So thank you very much.